Released late in 2019 for all major consoles and PC, Children of Morta tells the story about a family of adventurers named the Bergsons. The Bergsons are the custodians of Mount Morta, a sprawling dungeon complex home to animals and humans alike, and they must defend it from an encroaching evil known only as the Corruption. As the name implies, the Corruption corrupts all that it touches, creating monsters and abominations that the Bergsons must combat to help save Mount Morta. I have been playing Children of Morta a lot these past few weeks, so let's find out why this game is my new favorite obsession. How you doing, fellow geeks? GamerDad79 here, and I want to welcome you to another rental reviews, right? Well, okay, so kind of a rental reviews, right? So it started as a rental reviews, but then I would say this is a review in progress more than anything, and we'll get into why here, right? So just to give you a little background on what rental reviews is, if you're not a member of a subscriber to the channel, I rent a game from my favorite service out there, right? And I definitely need a sponsorship. I've been doing this a lot, but GameFly. Basically, you rent a game, right? Just old school Netflix style. If you remember that, you set up a queue, rent a game, they send it to you, keep it for as long as you want, send it back when you're done with it, and that's it, right? GameFly has saved me so much money over the years in games that I just hated, and I'm glad I tried before I buy. So love the service, highly recommended. But I'm glad I tried Children of Morta, right? I've seen it on Steam, you know, during my scrolling on Steam. I like to do it a lot, right? I'll scroll through available games, see if there's any good sales out, and Children of Morta look very, very interesting. So I was glad I had an opportunity to try it. Before we get into the review, I want to know how you guys are doing, how you guys are holding up during all this time, right? Things look like we might be getting back to some semblance of normal here. So how are you guys holding up? Are you excited to go back to normal? Are you a little bit, nervous about it still? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what you're playing to keep you busy during this time frame. All right. So without further ado, fellow geeks, let's go ahead and get into the Children of Morta. Children of Morta is an action RPG rogue-like dungeon crawler that follows the adventuring family of the Bergsons. You control several members of the Bergson family as more members unlock as the game goes on. Combat is relatively simple as you hack and slash through hordes of corrupted monsters and beasts. Each member of the Bergson family controls differently and has different styles of combat. The first character you control, John, the father of the family, uses a sword and shield to cut a swath of destruction through the denizens of the Corruption, while Linda, his daughter, uses a bow and arrow to strike her targets while keeping a safe distance. Each member also has several supplemental attacks that you unlock as you gain levels, adding to your repertoire to take out the ever-increasingly difficult members of the Corruption. I'm generally not a major fan of the roguelike genre simply because of how long it takes to progress in the game. However, Children of Morta has a great gameplay loop, intermixed with really, really strong storytelling that helps give Children of Morta just one of those just one more time feels to it. All right, so first, let's answer the question, what is a roguelite, right? Because not everyone may know exactly what that is. So basically what a roguelite is you will play whatever style of game it is. If your character dies, you go back, but you keep all your progression. There have been different variations of it, right? But in Children of Morta, when one of your characters die, you go back to your home base, which is your home, but you maintain your levels and your gold and the progression of powers that you have made. So it makes further delves into the dungeon easier for you, and you're able to make it further, right? And it's got that really interesting and like I said, that's that I need to do it just one more time gameplay loop to it. For me, I like playing games. When I play RPGs, especially, I'm always the sword and shield guy, right? I like using that. And I thought I would like John the most. But honestly, as I'm playing the game, I dug Linda's character a little bit more and her combat style because you're able to stay away from the enemies a lot easier. And the way the game works is there's definitely checks and balances, right? Because while you can move with Linda while you're shooting your bow and arrow, you lose stamina while you're doing it, right? So you got to be very, very careful. So while it is simply you hit the button to shoot your weapon, or you could also use the right analog stick on whatever console you're using. So it makes it kind of a twin stick shooter type of feel to it as well. So you can use the button or you can use the right stick to attack. But while you're doing that, you have to look at your stamina and your health and everything else going on. And you also have other powers that unlock and you're able to find throughout the game that add to that level of strategy that you can use against all these different members of the corruption. Now, when I first started, I didn't know, okay, what incentive do I have to play any of the other characters? Like, I really, really like John. Why am I going to pick somebody else? Is it because I just want to experiment? But no, the game gets you in this way. As more you fight in the dungeon, your character becomes corrupt as well. So he needs to go home, or she needs to go home and rest for a while. So that's really, really a good way to get you to experiment with the other members of the family, and several of them will unlock as you are playing the game. So I really like that aspect of it. It kind of forced my hand a little bit, and I found that I like some other gameplay styles. I played, can't remember his name right now, but I played one of the other sons in the family, and he's more of an acrobat using daggers. So really, really interesting combat mechanics, and I really like what they've done with Children of Morta. Children of Morta mixes pixel graphics with highly detailed environments. I really love the gorgeously painted look of the backgrounds, which give Children of Morta a haunted look. Make no mistake, while the game sports pixel-style graphics, there are some truly morbid images. The corruption has killed animals and humans alike, dismembering and eviscerating them. It's not uncommon to come across a whole family slaughtered by monsters, and various animals with their guts spilled all over the cavern floors. I'm usually not a fan of heavily pixelated games, but developer Dead Mage really made the characters feel alive and distinct, and mixed with the detailed environments, the art style grew on me really fast. It's truly amazing the level of detail you can get out of pixel graphics nowadays, and they were really able to do that in Children of Morta. Like, you can really, even though these are just small pixels on the screen, you get a sense of family with these characters, right? So the combat is kind of intersected with parts of them at home and dealing with different things. Like, there's the youngest son wants to take up being a combatant, right? So, but the mom doesn't want him to. Mom is scared that the son will get into this life that her husband and other children have, and she doesn't want that. And you really get that emotion, even though these are pixel graphics. So they did a really, really good job in getting across emotion and feeling just using pixels, which is really, really amazing. The dungeons themselves are procedurally generated, which means that the game randomly puts the dungeon together every time you go into it. So it's not the same each time, but even though it's randomly generated, it is absolutely gorgeous. The caverns and everything look really unique and amazingly detailed. And like I said before, there's definitely a level of gore to this game, right? There's some gory aspects there. So just be aware of that, right? Not sure, I can't remember if I think the game is only rated T for teen, but because they're pixelated, right? But there's definitely some more, kind of mature themed images that you will come across while playing the game. The story is told by a narrator that lends such an air of gravity to what is happening. From telling us about a joyous reunion between the youngest member of the Bergen family and a wolf cub, to the horrific discovery that the corruption is violently killing everything in its path. I loved how the storyteller is able to switch gears between some of the more tender moments spent with the family and the more serious experiences investigating the inner workings of Mount Morta. The story is told in cutscenes, laid out every time your Bergson family member dies and is brought back to life, and whatever you complete an objective and return back home. The story has what really made me interested in this game, as it explores the interpersonal relationships inherent in a family. You experience a mother's heartbreak as she realizes her youngest son is destined to follow in the family's footsteps and become an adventurer, risking his life every time he goes out. You get to see a family breathe a sigh of relief as the second oldest returns home after being gone for so long, hurt but alive. You get to save a wolf cub after its mother is viciously slaughtered by the corruption, only to have to venture back into the depths of Mount Morta to find specific herbs to heal the tiny cub. You know, the story of this family is so real and so emotional that's what really brings you into this. That's what really grabs you and drags you in and makes it more than just your typical roguelite hack and slash, right? Where you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And they just released a big update that adds even more cutscenes and more things you can do with your family. It's really like the story, it just grabs me, right? And if you follow me at all, right, if you know my channel, you know my taste of games, you know that a great story is what I'm always looking for when playing a video game. That's what really drags me in. It's very rare that I like a game that does not have some sort of deep, engrossing story. This game, The Children of Morta, has that really amazing story, and it's definitely worth checking out. Final thoughts. I have been obsessed with Children of Morta since I started playing. I'm really into the story and the progression of these characters. I have played for a little bit over 10 hours now, but it seems like I've only scratched the surface of what's available. From the haunting visuals to experiencing everyday life with these characters, I love almost everything about Children of Morta. Combat can be a little simple when you take away the special abilities you earn as you level up, but it's just interesting enough to warrant that just one more time for me when I'm playing. Personally, I appreciate the simplified combat as it makes it easier to enjoy the game. While there are only two difficulty settings, normal and hard, I'll say both offer a heck of a challenge, as you are swarmed with monsters even on normal. I really enjoyed coming back into the dungeon with new abilities and powered up skills to tackle an area that wiped me out just moments before. Whenever I like a game enough to purchase it right away, it usually goes into my backlog with the intent to tackle it at some point in the future. In this case, I bought Children of Morta and continue to play it and make progress. I love the game that much. Alright, fellow geeks, that is it for today's video. Like I said, while this was a rental review, this is more like a review in progress. I'm not done with Children of Morta, but I'm still playing it, and it's just an amazing experience. I really wanted to share my thoughts with you on this game and kind of encourage you to pick it up. Maybe it's something that has kind of gone under your radar and something you haven't seen, but definitely pick up or check out at least, Gamefly. I'm gonna hype that up again, but definitely check out Children of Morta. It is so worth it. It is so worth the money. One heck of a great game. I've had so much fun with it. I'll kind of go back. I'm done with the review, but I do want to say one thing, and I didn't kind of touch on this during the review. In handheld mode, it can be a little bit difficult to see the traps, right? So that's probably my one really major gripe with the game. Let me know in the comments section, fellow geeks, if you have played Children of Morta and what you think about it, and let me know what you thought about the video today. So, Until next time, fellow geeks, I am GamerDad79. Keep on geeking on.